Hey everyone, welcome to CodeMaarg. Learn, code and grow. Here's what we are going to do in this playlist. We're going to use a college database as a base, and using that, we will understand every concept clearly. We will practice it with real problems, and most importantly, we will apply what we have learned. A big promise that I'm going to do for all of you who is watching this is we are going to solve all LeetCode problems that are available for free. Not some, not few, literally all of them. From easy to medium and then hard level problems, okay? And towards the end of the series, we will also see how to integrate AI into our day-to-day workflow so you can work smarter and not harder. And coming to this video, in this video, we're going to start with the absolute basics. We will see how many tables are present in our database that we have chosen, what are the columns that are present in the tables, what's primary key, what's foreign key, what's self-referencing foreign key. We'll see all these things. If you're someone who already has some experience working with tables, you can please skip this video and move on to the next one, because this video just speaks about the different tables present in our college database that we have chosen. You can just go through the file that I've attached in the description to see the different tables that we have in this database. But if you are very new to this, I highly recommend watching every video in this series till the end. Now, let's get started. This database that we have chosen has 6 different tables, starting from we have departments table, we have students table, we have courses table, we have faculties table, we also have enrollments table, and we have payments table. So how many tables do we have in this database? We have 6 different tables. Now let's see what data each table is going to give us individually. So I'm going to move to sheet 2 to view each table individually, okay? Now let me just start with departments table. So what is department table, or what data this table is going to give us? So this departments table have 2 columns. One is department ID, the other one being the department name. So what is department name? It's basically the branches that's present in different colleges. For example, if you go to engineering colleges, you'll have different branches, right? You'll have computer science, you'll have information science, electrical, electronics, mechanical, civil, whatnot, right? You'll have different branches. So this department name is going to give the data of the different branches that's present, not just engineering colleges for that matter, it might be any college, right? So this department name is going to give the name of the departments, as the name suggests, of course. And one thing to note here is each department name over here is tagged to its own ID, meaning every department name is given its own ID, and that ID is something that's unique across the table. So why do we need this department ID? That is something that we'll understand when I'm explaining about the students table. But for now, let's just understand that this departments table has just 2 columns. One is department ID and the other one is the department name. And we have 7 rows here, and I'll be referring rows as records. So whenever I say record, it is the row data that I'm speaking about, okay? So what are we understanding from this departments table? It just has 2 columns. One is department ID and the other one is the department name, and department ID is something that's unique across the table. Okay, now that we've understood what departments table is giving us, what data this departments table is giving us, now let's understand the same with students table. I'm gonna copy this complete table and let me paste this table here. I'll just bring this table up. Okay, now in students table, we have 5 different columns. We have student ID, we have student name, we have email, we have join date, and we have department ID. Just for the sake of understanding, I'm going to delete this email column for now. Delete column. I want email column, I'll get that back. But for now, let's just have 4 columns. We have student ID, we have student name, we have join date, we have department ID. Now let's take an example to understand what data this table is giving us. I'll take Rohan as our example. Now what is it saying? Rohan has joined on July 1st, 2022 to the department that has an ID 2. What is it saying? Rohan has joined on July 1st, 2022 to the department that has an ID 2. So which is the department that has an ID 2? This is something that we'll have to figure out seeing the departments table. So Rohan has joined the department that has an ID 2. So in departments table, which is the department that has an ID 2? It is mechanical engineering. So now Rohan has joined to mechanical engineering on July 1st, 2022. Again, let's take another example. Meera has joined on July 1st, 2022 to the department that has an ID 3. So which is the department that has an ID 3? It is electrical engineering. So now Meera has joined to electrical engineering on July 1st, 2022. Now we understood what these three columns are giving us, what data these three columns are giving us. Now let's understand what student ID is giving us. Why do we actually need the student ID? Let me just add a row below. Now let's say another student called Rohan has joined on 2022-07-1 to the mechanical engineering department. Now we have two different Rohans who has joined on the same date, July 1st, 2022, to the same department, mechanical engineering. So this is a situation that most of you would have seen, right? For example, in your schools, in your colleges, you may find 2 or 3 or 4 people or many number of people having the same name who are present in the same class, right? In the class that I was in, there were 4 different darshans in my class. So how will I differentiate amongst the 4? How will I uniquely identify those 4 darshans? Correct? So everyone will be given roll numbers for them, right? So roll number will be unique ID that will be given to you to uniquely identify yourself amongst the rest of the people whom you're surrounded with. Similarly, similar to roll number, what is it that we have here? We have something called as student ID. So student ID is something that is unique, that is given to you to uniquely identify yourself amongst the rest of the people whom you're surrounded with. Let us take another example. We have something called as Aadhaar card, correct? In India, we have something called as Aadhaar card. Why do you think you should have a number in an Aadhaar card? Why can't just name be enough in an Aadhaar card? It's because there can be multiple people who have the same name, who lives in the same country, same state, same city, same street as well, right? So to uniquely identify yourself amongst the rest of the people whom you're surrounded with, you are given a unique ID in an Aadhaar card. And that ID, that number that you have in an Aadhaar card, that is something that is unique and no one else in the country can have the same number as what you have. Correct? That is the reason why we have a number in an Aadhaar card. Now let's go back to the example of Rohan that we have. How do we differentiate amongst these two Rohans that we have? It is through the student ID column. So can two people have the same number in an Aadhaar card? Meaning the number that you have in an Aadhaar card, can another person also have the same number? No, right? That Aadhaar number that you have is something that's unique across the country. So here, can two students have the same student ID? Meaning, can this Rohan also have a student ID as 3? Or let's say, can this Rohan also have a student ID as 4? No, right? Because 4 is the ID which is already taken by Meera. So this Rohan cannot have an ID 4. So what is the ID that this Rohan can have? It should be unique. So ID is ending for 50. This Rohan can have an ID of 51. My next question is, can you have an Aadhaar card without a number in it? Can you have an Aadhaar card without the Aadhaar number in it? No, right? Similarly, you can't have something called as null in the student ID. Student ID is a primary key column, meaning a column which should always contain a value, which would always contain a unique value. This column cannot have null values in it. So student ID column is something that should be unique. Now, what is the student ID? As we saw, it is a column in a database table that uniquely identifies each record in a table. What is the student ID? It is a column in a database table that uniquely identifies each record in a table. What is it? A column in a database table that uniquely identifies each record in a table. We call that to be a primary key. What is it? A column in a database table. Student ID is the column in a database table that uniquely identifies each record in a table. So that is called as primary key. Now, as we saw, can two Rohans, meaning can this Rohan also have a primary key to be 4 as we saw? No, right? Because Meera already have a student ID to be 4. So this Rohan cannot have his student ID as 4. So what do we conclude by that? No two rows can have the same primary key value. No two rows can have the same primary key value. Again, what is the next thing that we saw? Can you have an Aadhaar card without an Aadhaar number in it? No, right? Can you have a student ID as null then? No. A primary key must always contain a value. A primary key must always contain a value. It cannot be null. It cannot be null. A primary key must always contain a value. Now, another point is each table can have only one primary key. Each table can have only one primary key, but it can be composite. Here in students table, which is the primary key column, meaning which is a column in a database table that uniquely identifies each record? It is student ID. It is student ID. So the student ID is a primary key. Again, in departments table, which is the column that uniquely identifies each record, it is department ID. So department ID is the primary key column for departments table. Student ID is the primary key column for the students table. Now, what is this third point saying? Each table can have only one primary key. So students table has student ID as primary key, departments table has department ID as primary key. So each table, departments and students table, has only one primary key. But it can be, what is it saying? But it can be composite. It can be composite. We'll see what this but it can be composite later. But this is something that is important to just not forget. Now we have 3 points. No two rows can have same primary key value. A primary key must always contain a value. Each table can have only one primary key, but it can be composite. We'll see what that but it can be composite means later. But this is about primary key. Now that we have understood what is primary key, let's understand what is foreign key. Let's understand what is foreign key. While explaining, I said you all that Rohan has joined to mechanical engineering department. How did I know that Rohan has joined to mechanical engineering only? It's because we have a column here called as department ID, which said that Rohan has joined to department that has an ID 2. So to figure out which department has an ID 2, I went to the departments table and saw that mechanical engineering was the department that has an ID 2. So what are we trying to learn here is this department ID here is a column that's present in students table, which is referring to a department ID column that is present in departments table, which is the primary key column here. So what? I'll come again. Department ID is a column that's present in students table, which is referring to the department's ID column that is present in departments table and which is the primary key column here. So any column in a table that refers to a primary key column in another table is called as foreign key. Any column in a table that refers to a primary key column in another table is called as foreign key. So here department ID became the foreign key column. So let me come again. Here department ID is a column that's present in students table, which is referring to a primary key column that's present in departments table. So this department ID here becomes a foreign key. This department ID here becomes a foreign key. Okay, now that we have understood what data departments table is giving us, what data students table is giving us, what is primary key, what is foreign key, and all those stuff, let's move on to our next table, which is courses table. Again, I'll copy this courses table and I'll just paste this course table here, and we'll just bring this courses table up. Okay, now this table has 3 different columns, which is course ID, course name, department ID. Let's see what data this is giving us. It is saying, for example, introduction to programming belongs to the department that has an ID 1. Again, which is the department that has an ID 1? It is computer science. So introduction to programming belongs to computer science department. Let's see another example. Here we have linear algebra. Linear algebra belongs to which department? It belongs to the department that has an ID 5. So which is the department that has an ID 5? This is something we'll have to figure out in departments table. So here in departments table, it says mathematics is the department that has an ID 5. So again, coming back to courses table, linear algebra belongs to mathematics department. So here department ID becomes the column that is referencing to the column, to the primary key column that is present in departments table. So that is what we call as foreign key. So department ID here becomes the foreign key because it is referencing to the primary column that is present in the departments table. Course name is the name of the course and course ID is the primary key column, which is unique across the table. So here in courses table, we have 3 different columns: course ID, course name, and department ID. Now let's move on to the next table, which is faculty table, Again, copy and paste this table, and let's bring this faculty table here. In this faculty table, we have 3 different columns. We have 3 columns where faculty ID, faculty name, and manager ID. One thing we'll have to understand here is every manager is also a faculty. A faculty becomes a manager later when being promoted, correct? So every manager is also a faculty in the college. Now let's see the data to understand what this table is giving us. Let's see Bob here. It is saying Bob is a faculty who has an ID as 2 and who is reporting to the manager, also a faculty who has an ID as 1. So who is a person in this faculty table who has ID as 1? It is Alice. Again, Bob, which means that Bob is reporting to Alice. Charlie is reporting to Alice. David is reporting to the person, to the faculty who has become a manager who has an ID 2. So which is the person who has an ID as 2? It is Bob. What does that mean? David is reporting to Bob, or Bob is the manager of David. Bob is the manager of Eva because Eva is reporting to the person who has ID 2, which is Bob here. Frank is reporting to Charlie. Grace is reporting to Charlie. Ian is reporting to the faculty who has ID as 8. Which is the person who has ID 8? It is Helen. So Ian is reporting to Helen, or Helen is the manager of Ian. One thing that we have to note here is when we saw courses table or when we saw students table, what we saw is here department ID was a column that was referencing to a primary key column that was present in another table, and so was this department ID column called as foreign key. Again, coming to courses table, what was happening? This department ID that was present in courses table was referencing to the department ID column, which is a primary key here in the departments table, and so this department ID became a foreign key. But here in this faculty table, we have a manager ID column that is referencing to the faculty ID column, which is a primary key here in faculty table, but this referencing is happening in the same table. We are not referencing to a primary key column that is present in another table. We are referencing to a primary key column that is present in same table. So what is happening? Manager ID here is a column that is referencing to a faculty ID column, which is a primary key here in faculty table. So this type of scenario is called as is called as, what is it called as? It is called as self-referencing foreign key. So what is self-referencing foreign key? It is a foreign key. It is a foreign key in a table. Let me just bring this. Okay, it is a foreign key in a table that refers to the primary key of the same table. This is what we call as self-referencing foreign key. So here manager ID becomes the SFK becomes the self-referencing foreign key, because this manager ID is referencing to the primary key column of the same table. That is why it is called as self-referencing foreign key. So for now, faculty table has 3 different columns: faculty ID being the primary key, faculty name, and manager ID being the self-referencing foreign key. Okay, now let's understand the last 2 tables represent. Let's first understand enrollments table quickly and move on to the last table, which is payments table. We have enrollments table here. Let me just bring this up. Okay, we have enrollments table. Here in this enrollments table, we have 3 different columns. One is student ID, course ID, and enroll date. So what data is this giving us? Let's see. Let's take an example of this. So it is saying student ID who has an ID of 1 has joined to the course ID that has an ID of 1 on a specific date, that is July 15, 2022. So what does that mean? Who is the student that has an ID 1? So this student ID is referencing to the student ID column, primary key column in students table. So who is the student that has an ID as 1? It is Arav. It is Arav. So Arav has joined to the course ID 1. Which is the course that has an ID 1? This is something that we'll have to figure out in courses table, which is a primary key here. So which is the course that has an ID 1? It is Introduction to Programming. So Arav has joined to Introduction to Programming on July 15th, 2022. Again, Arav has joined to the course ID 2. So which is the course that has an ID 2? It is Data Structures. So Arav has also joined to Data Structures on 16th of July 2022. So what we are doing is this student ID and course ID. For example, this student ID is referencing to the student ID primary key column that is present in students table. So this course ID here is referencing to the primary key course ID column that is present in courses table. So what are these called as? These both become a foreign key column. These both become a foreign key columns. So what data it is giving? Arav has joined to 2 courses. One is Introduction to Programming and the other one is Data Structures. One on 15th July and the other on 16th of July. So this table is student ID being the foreign key, course ID being the foreign key, and enroll date being the date on which the student has registered to a particular course. The last table that we'll have to see now is payments table. This is the last table. Let me bring this side. Let me bring this table a little up. Okay, now let's see what payments table is giving us. So payment ID here is the primary key column. Which column is the primary key in which table is something you'll have it as a given data. So that is something that we will not have to worry about. So here, let's understand that. Let's understand that payment ID is a primary key. We also have student ID. We have amount in dollars. We also have payment date. So payment ID is the primary key. Student ID This obviously becomes the foreign key. Why is it a foreign key? Because to identify which student it is, you will have to go to the primary key column of the students table and map the student name to get the data. So this student ID becomes the foreign key here. And we also have amount and we have payment date. So what data it is giving? We already know that Arav has a student ID 1, so I'm picking up this table, this data. So Arav has given $100 on 2022 7/15, meaning Arav has paid $100 for on July 15th 2022. Arav has also paid $150 on July 16th 2022. This is what this table is giving us. So payments table has 4 columns, payment ID being the primary key, student ID being the foreign key, and amount in dollars, and on which particular date the payment is being made to which student, on which student has made that particular payment by paying how much. This is the data that payments table is giving us. In this video, we saw how many tables are present in the database that we have chosen, and what are the columns. We saw what's primary key, foreign key, and self-referencing foreign key, all those stuffs. But it's very, very important to understand and register what each table gives us. So I had to go through it completely. In the next video, we will straight away learn how to create tables, alter tables, drop tables, truncate, and everything else. We will also do it practically as well. We will do it practically. And if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching this video till the end. Bye bye. Never stop learning, guys. We'll catch up in the next one.